All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Outside the Studio. I am so honored today to introduce you to Joanna Haines. If you don't already know her, you will by the end of this episode. Joanna is a very multifaceted person. She's multi-passionate. She is a soul alignment and spiritual mentor. She works closely with clients who are ready to expand into their highest timeline by reconnecting with their most authentic and precious expression, their energetic blueprint, which you're going to tell us what that is, right? Because I think I know, but I'm not an expert like you are. It's a sacred, oh, here we go. It's a sacred reclamation of the whole self, leaving no part behind through a blend of different modalities, such as, and I don't know how to pronounce his name. Is it Gabor?
Yeah, Gabor Mate. Yeah.
Gabor Mate. Okay. Who is an amazing individual in his own right. So if you
Yeah.
haven't ever checked out Gabor Mate's literature, his talks and stuff, I highly recommend checking him out. So the modality of Gabor Mate's is compassionate inquiry, I believe, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
And then human design, which is separate, and the Akashic records, which is also separate, and somatic embodiment. So there's so many different modalities here that you have studied, that you pull from, which makes you this, multi-passionate. I mean, whoa, what a cool blend amalgamation of things you've studied and that you now offer. What does that end up looking like in terms of like meeting with a client? Do you kind of pull from all of these different modalities and create an offering based on that?
Yeah. Yeah. So because everybody is so different, because we are all here to express ourselves in unique ways, which is what human design helps sort of show you, is like where your gifts lie and how you're different and how you're supposed to be different. Depending on where clients are at and what they need, I feel like different pieces of those modalities come in, which is why I really love journeying with people for longer periods, because when we have more time together, we get to slowly journey through whatever it is that we're working on, and we get to pull from all those things. So, I'm probably not going to bring in all of it if we're just having one or two sessions together. So it really just depends on what the client's at and what they need, and also what they've been through in their lifetime before, and what kind of beliefs or traumas or blocks they're up against.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've had a few different guests on this show who have talked about the different modalities of human design and Akashic records, but it's been a while. So could we just have a brief refresher in terms of defining those two different modalities?
For sure. Yeah. So human design is a modality that kind of pulls together a few things like astrology, the tree of life, um, the I Ching, and quantum science, and sort of brings it all together and generates a chart that sort of looks like something like this if you're looking, and it tells you how your energy is here to sort of thrive and how it's wired in your system and how it's going to move through you. And so what happens in those sessions is I can share with you certain things about how your energy is meant to work versus how we're sort of programmed or told that we should show up in the world. And it helps you almost get confirmation about something you already know on a soul level, because it's your chart we're looking at. So you already know it from a physical level or a soul level in some ways, but it's not always something that we understand intellectually, because we're always receiving so much data from outside ourselves that we kind of forget how to trust ourselves. So that's human design. It's a system that we get to generate a chart based on your birth time, date, location, and dive in that way. The Akashic records is much less tangible because it's a frequency and energy that we attune to. And it's like an etheric library that we open with intention and mantra and connect to information about what is most relevant for you in this moment, because the Akashic records carry information on your soul through all timelines, dimensions, realities, all lives, every thought, action, deed that's ever happened, and all possibilities for the future as well. So it's way less tangible in that you can actually see it, but it's something we attune to and then kind of receive information in order to support you.
Mm. It's that
Yeah.
one's always so hard for me to wrap my head around unless it's like, I'm sitting down with a person who's doing a reading for me, and I don't even know if that's the right word to use when we're talking about
Yeah.
Akashic records, because it sounds like, yeah, like this amalgamation of, I mean, do you use anything like you do in human design, like a birthday or a zodiac sign or anything like that?
No, I think different people may work with it in different ways, yet it's really about using the reverence of mantra, a set of prayer to open the records and attune to the person's name, and their energy field. And so and it's so funny because when you say it's hard for me to get my head around, like, I work with the records. They're offerings that I give, but yet when I'm speaking about it, I understand how crazy it may seem to the logical mind that you can do that. Yet it's a magical place to be, and it's such a beautiful modality to work with, and I love sharing it. Yeah.
How did you find this work? The human design and Akashic records in particular. What kind of drew you to them?
I feel like they kind of found me when I was ready for them, in that I'd seen human design on social media and was kind of just like, oh, I've heard this thing over and over again. And then one day, somebody's share hit me in a different way. And I signed up and had a session of my own, and it completely blew my mind. And I just was so excited about it. I was so lit up by it. And then human design, like, my strategy is to respond to things with my sacral. And so I could feel that happening while I was getting my session. And so I went like full on into learning mode and trained in that right away. I just went full on into that. And then a few years later, maybe from that, same with Akashic Records. I'd heard it and I was like, whatever. And then one day, I was like, through such random synchronicities, was reunited with one of my yoga teacher trainers like 10 years later. And she was offering sessions. And for some reason, it was just the perfect timing, the perfect person that I sort of trusted to take me on that journey, and had my session with her. And it was such a powerful, profound hour of my life that once again kind of threw me right into that. And while the training for that didn't come as quickly, because I didn't really know you could train in it per se, I was going and having sessions and connecting with the records through my mentor in that way. Yeah.
I think.
So,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, I think those things find you. I don't know how you would go searching for it, if that makes sense. I think sometimes when we're on the path and just following the breadcrumbs, the things that you need and the things that are ready for you, they kind of come. And it's the same for honestly every training that I find myself in. I seem to stumble upon it when it's the right time. So I've sort of stopped searching because I know it'll always come when I need it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So, okay. And then the third modality that you work with is Gabor Mates. That's the compassionate. Now I'm forgetting what it's called, even though I just said
Compassionate inquiry.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Will you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's just it's really a way of meeting clients in a really compassionate way, and seeing what is alive in them in that moment and bringing them into the body and journeying through a bunch of different stepping stones. It's not a linear path. It's just sort of all these different tools that we learn to find a way for people to meet parts of themselves that are echoing through their nervous system, through their life, through their subconscious mind, and sit with it in a different way and meet that part of them in a different way. Because I think a lot of times people think there's this part of me and I don't like it and I need to get rid of it so that I can be more this other thing. Yet that part of you is part of you and it's not going anywhere. And the more that we resist it, the more it's going to push back. But when we can just sit and create a little bit of space to meet it in a different way, we have an opportunity to change our relationship to that part of ourselves. So it's not leading the show or it's not hidden. So that is a training that's just a very compassionate way of working through blocks and shadows that are probably presenting themselves in your life right now, and kind of journeying back when we need to, or just being with whatever is when we need to.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Those are great modalities to be working with. I think my question is with all of these things, and I find this to be true for myself, especially when I'm working with a healer of some sort. It's like all these things that I know I might call shadow, or I might call an undesirable habit or behavior that I'd like to get rid of, or this like soul connection that I have with something that I kind of ignore or poo-poo. It's like this idea of, why is it so hard for us to trust our bodies and our intuition? Because, at least for me, and I'm curious to hear your perspective personally working with these things, and also to hear like what you experience with clients. But for me, at least, it's like I can have those aha moments. Typically, I intellectually get it and I know it, but putting that information into action to create a change in habit and behavior is probably where I struggle most. And so, yeah, with that in mind, what do you have you seen that in your clients? Have you experienced that in yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's coming through right now, and so hopefully it sort of speaks to this, is that I feel like it's a process of realignment and re-meeting ourselves over and over and over again. And people tend to think that you go through these 5 steps and then you're cured or you're good and you're ready to go on and live your life. But the thing is that this is living your life, to realign to your truth, to realign to trusting your body. And it's a muscle that needs to be exercised for sure. And then it becomes easier. And then the way I see it is that, let's just say at the beginning of our journey, the pendulum swinging this like as far right and as far left as possible. And you're like, I trust myself. And then I totally don't. And it's such a big gap. And then through realigning, through practices, through returning to it, through being realigned to the same thing over and over again by your mentor or who you're working with or the healer, I find that the pendulum stops swinging so aggressively. And then the realignment happens much more softly and with more ease. But it's not that you ever just get into the slipstream and you're good. It gets a lot easier, but it takes more time than I think we're often told that it should. We live in a world that's like, move fast, do this, and then you'll be good. And I just think it's more of a tender process. I know all this stuff, I work with all this stuff, and yet I still need to realign myself. You don't just work out one time. You don't just hear something about yourself one time and then be good, if that makes sense. So it's really a realignment, a reattunement, a reconnection that happens over and over again with intention.
Yeah, that's helpful. I think I find it interesting because I guess I'm speaking to it from the place of intellectually know that I need to change a particular habit or behavior. Like I know I need to. I know this habit or behavior doesn't serve me. Like, for example, drinking wine at night. Not help me sleep. But do I love my glass of wine? Yes, I do. Do I continue to drink it almost every day? Yes, I do. Would I probably sleep a lot better if I didn't drink that glass of wine once a day? Yeah, I probably would. But so it's like, that's
I'm with you.
A tangible, silly example, but it's stuff like that that's like very behavior based that does not feel like it's helping me in any sort of way.
Right. And I love that example because I can totally empathize with it as well. Um, so that kind of thing can be nuanced for different people, but it's the having of the wine also serves a purpose and fulfills some need. And whether that need comes from, I just like to experience pleasure and I'm afraid that I won't have another opportunity to experience pleasure. So I need to do it each and every day. Like there's so many different stories that could come behind why we do the thing that we quote unquote know we shouldn't do because it doesn't serve us in this way. So it's about becoming clear through literally compassionate inquiry as to like why do I do this thing, and then also attuning to what the intention is, because our intention always needs to be coming from a pure place that will be stronger than the resistance to whatever it is we're moving towards. And so if it's like, I just want to relax and have the wine and I'm willing to sacrifice my sleep today, then you make that choice, but you make that choice knowing that you want to do it and that you're doing it. You're empowered in making that decision. Yet if it's like not sleeping is screwing up my life and I really want to nip this in the bud, then we would approach it in a different way around that too. So I feel like I'm getting confusing here, but it's very nuanced. But all these behavioral habits that we think don't serve us come from a place because at one point, whether it's the drinking of the wine or the doing of something else, served us to protect us in some way, it stepped in to take over for us. And so it's about being curious where it comes from. And then once we have the awareness around it, I feel like that's the entry point to then start working with it in a different way.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Because as you're saying that, I'm like answering all the questions. Well, why do I do it? What purpose? Because it does serve a purpose. And you're right. It is about giving myself a treat, something I enjoy. It tastes good. I just love it. I feel like it's romantic. I sit there with my book at the end of the day. It's how that
Yeah.
and then when you start talking about, well, what's the next step if we decided that, you could insert any sort of habit or behavior for the wine. It doesn't have to be the wine. But the next step where I get really resistant is, okay, we know it's not serving my sleep. This has got to stop or change. I need to make a conscious decision in that. You said something about this intention being stronger than the need to have that in the moment. And I think that's really key. And that's where my mind goes, oh shit, this is scary. I don't know if I can let go of this habit or behavior, because it's like this attachment. And I think that oftentimes that fear is what keeps us in that kind of loop of that unhelpful.
Yes. Yeah.
Change.
Absolutely. We can really get, it's the fear is real and change isn't easy. And so sometimes we stay stuck in the familiar, even though it doesn't serve us, because it's actually easier. So it's easier just to be like, have the wine. I know I'll wake up tomorrow and I'll be like, why did I do that? And I'll do it again. And it's very familiar to me. So the pattern interrupt takes a lot of energy to come in and interrupt a pattern. And so again, it's about realigning and, getting clear on what is an intention, like what do I truly want, and then and using that to like anchor you each and every day through the rough spots, and also not again poo-pooing, dismissing, judging the part of you that does the thing that doesn't serve you, because as soon as you're like you're bad, then that part's like what, and comes in stronger. So when we can sit with that part that's like, well, I need it because I don't know how else to relax. It's like, okay, you weren't taught how to relax, or you weren't taught how to regulate your nervous system, or whatever it is. And then that's when we journey in with compassionate inquiry or going into the body, or, that's where we can use the Akashic records to help do some clearings. That's where we can do some tapping. That's where you pull on a whole bunch of different things depending on people's reasoning for being where they are.
Yeah. That's cool. I love that. Well, so kind of on this thread, then I'm wondering what, maybe this is it, but is there a biggest block that you see clients facing like in general, or if it's when they want to start something new?
Ooh, I mean, the answer that's coming for that truly is trusting themselves to know. I think ultimately it comes down to that so often because we almost want someone to validate what it is that we want for ourselves. And you don't need that. And you no one's ever going to show up and say, today is the day to do the thing you're scared to do. I mean, sometimes you get pushed into that, but no one's going to come forward to tell you to claim your life in a different way or the way you actually want to. And so we can get really stuck in not trusting that, like, those whispers, that pull, the goosebumps, the inner knowing, we're like, that's not real. What is real is outside authority or going through steps in the way that somebody else is. And so, yeah, I think self-trust is something that people struggle with a lot because we outsource that in our society a lot as well.
Man, I so resonate with that. I'm just thinking about, do you use any, I'm sure you pull from all the modalities, but are there any like few tips or tricks that you would employ to help strengthen that ability
Yeah.
and trust?
Yes, I think that human design is a lovely entry point for that because sometimes, intuition speaks to people. Well, always intuition speaks in a different way to different people. So when you say like trust your gut to people, it's not always as simple as that for some people because that's not always people's, authority. And so just sitting with someone and sharing, like, this might be how your intuition speaks to you, that one with, it's not your mind. Like, this is the thing that everybody, even if you've never had a human design reading or you don't know or you don't care to know, your mind is not your authority. Your mind is a beautiful tool to witness the world, to have ideas, to form opinions, to, gain some clarity over some confusion, to think about things. It's not here to actually make the decision. So when you can learn how your body is communicating, your intuition's communicating with you, you can begin to trust that and play with that. It's not like, it's just play with it. You don't have to nail it. Even notice, oh, my intuition spoke to me. I think I should do this, but my mind's stepping in to tell me this is the other logical path to do it. I'm not going to listen to my intuition right now. I'm going to do the thing my mind says, but at least own the fact that you're doing it and acknowledge it and then see what happens. People think they need to get it right. It's okay. The universe is here to support you. Just own where you're at and be honest with the way that you're moving. And so gaining clarity that it's not your mind is one of the biggest steps, I think.
Mm.
And then learning how your own intuition is speaking to you. And again, it's a muscle that we need to strengthen. So it's okay if you get it, if you quote unquote screw it up sometimes because you didn't listen. There's another opportunity to realign to it.
Well, so I'm trying to think back to what I do know about human design, and this is really helpful because, so I hear people a lot say, I was like out for a walk and I saw a sign. I saw a heart on the ground. My sister looks for hearts everywhere and she always finds them everywhere. And I think, well, you're looking for them. So of course you're going to find them. And perhaps that is her just following her intuition. And so when you say, learn how your intuition speaks to you, and it might not be your gut, what are the other ways that our intuition speaks to us?
Well, for some people, it's like instinct. It's more like a whisper. Like, it's more just one time. It's like, do the thing, don't do that. And they just feel it and they know it. And then they're like, question it. And it doesn't keep coming back. So in human design, that would be like spleen or splenic authority. It's just like where your instinct, fight or flight, lives, survival lives. So it speaks to you one time. The sacral is just it's more of a visceral thing. It's a yes or a no. Other people actually need to feel into how their emotions and ride their emotional wave and gain clarity through time. Like, making impulsive decisions, instinctual decisions doesn't make sense for some people. Some people, it's because they have the motivation to do it. They're like, if I'm motivated to do it, that's a sign that I need to do it. And if I'm not motivated to do it, I don't need to bypass that and push through. Other people need to talk about it, So they kind of have a feeling or a sense, and then they'll talk about it to hear how the resonance of their voice sounds to themselves, not to get somebody else's opinion, which can be a very hard thing to find. Just I need to hear myself speak, to hear myself speak. And I gain clarity through that. So it's not, this is the thing. Sometimes people think that intuition is like this voice that comes down and it's bigger than you. But the thing is that your intuition is going to speak to you in a way that you understand, right? Because if that happened to you, it would be so jarring to the system. You would be like, I'm going crazy. So you get those signs in a way that makes sense to you. And then the more you cultivate them and become more trusting, it's just that it's like, oh yeah, that's my yes. That's my no. That's my wait. That's my this. You just become more familiar with it. And it's almost like you cultivate a relationship with it. I do want to say that I love the example about your sister's, your sister looking for hearts too, because you said, of course, you're going to see them because you're looking for them. But that is such a beautiful, like, it's so simplistic, yet that is how we manifest and pull from that etheric field of infinite possibilities. Is you look for the possibility, and in where you're looking, that's what draws it to you. So you're like, yeah, but the heart was already there. And it's like, yeah, but so is the possibility that's up here. It's just that you need to pay your attention to it to actually bring it into form. So I know it's kind of off from how your intuition speaks to you, but it's such a powerful lesson for people, or just tip, that it's like, yeah, it seems really simple when you're doing it about hearts, butterflies. Oh, I want to see a green car, and then you'll see a green car when you know that you're going to buy a new car. And you're like, I think I want to buy a Jeep. Then all of a sudden there's like 500 Jeeps on the road. They didn't come there because you started thinking about it. It's just that now you're noticing it. And that's exactly how manifestation works. It's just that people are less emotionally or egoically attached to the car than they are to their big dreams, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of off topic, but on topic
I'm,
in some ways.
I'm happy to go towards manifestation if there's anything else you want to add to that, because I think it's a word that's kind of like one of those, I feel like it's a trendy word that a lot of people use nowadays, that I don't know if we always know what we are talking about when we say manifestation. Like, for example, I'm trying to remember what podcast I was listening to. It might have been like Tim Ferriss or something, but he was interviewing a guest, and the guest was talking about how he started to just write down in his journal every day what he wanted to manifest. So literally it would be like, I want to be a famous comedian. I want to be a famous comedian. And he would write that down, just that word or sentence or phrase, like 15 times. And he would do it every day for, I don't know how long. I'm just making this up because I don't remember exactly what was said. But the thing that he was writing down actually happened. And so I think that's a form of manifest. I mean, and this was like a big pie in the sky kind of, manifestation.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about when we say manifestation? What does that actually mean in practice? And, on the level of manifestation.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can speak to how I sort of think about it, and I'm not an expert, but, I know there's a lot of experts out there in that way. I guess in some ways I am. And because I think that it's taking unlimited potential. And when you bring your attention to energy, it begins to form. Like that's that, I'm not a quantum scientist, so that's about the explanation you get from me. But when you bring your attention to the energy, that's when it starts to take form. So manifestation is really taking anything from the infinite field and bringing it into the 3D field. So the person who is writing, I am becoming a comedian, is paying attention to that possibility. He's not paying attention to I'm not a comedian. He's paying attention to I am. And in that attention, in that intention, he's pulling that energy and frequency towards him and creating it. I think it's also with intention, it's where you're pointing your arrow in life as well. And so to believe, you need to dream, you need to believe, you need to trust that what it is that you desire is your desire because it's for you, and move towards it with confidence. And it's okay if the wobbles happen. Oh my goodness, that's part of being human. Yet, if you're not dreaming it or holding it for yourself, there's literally no way it's going to come to you, because I don't want to see a Jeep. I don't believe I can see a Jeep. You're just not going to notice them, right? So I don't know if that's a clear and succinct answer, but I feel like it's just bringing every possibility out there, the ones that are for you. It's focusing your attention on what you want and bringing it to you.
Yeah. I love that explanation. I love the idea of the infinite possibility, because that is, right? There is infinite possibility in this world. And that's what's so cool about being alive and being a human being, that we have
Yes.
crazy potential to do something with, whether that be for good or bad or like without color, but it's there, this limitless potential. So I love the idea of just really getting clear about, I think getting clear about what you want and why you want it is important in manifestation work, but then actually focusing on it. Yeah, I love that.
And I think another layer to that too, just is like you focus on it, but you're unattached. And I think that's why seeing a heart is so easy, because you're sort of unattached. But as soon as you're like, I'm a comedian and it's my dream in life, your ego becomes so attached to it. So the reason why it's fun to play with, like, okay, I'm going to manifest seeing a heart today, is because you can release it easier, and then it just comes and you're like, yes. And if it didn't come today, you're like, that's okay. There's still hearts out there and they're still coming for me. Whereas when you're so focused on it, your ego's clinging to it because there's unconsciously, potentially, the belief that you don't think you can have it. So you hold on to it. And then you're also putting out there, I don't think I can have it. Mm-hmm. So I think it's nuanced, and it's not easy to let go of the big desires. But when you just plant the seed and release it and trust that in every moment it's coming towards you. And if it's not, it's because something better is. And that thing that you wanted maybe was coming from a place that you weren't super clear of. And actually the root of it is what's coming for you, if that makes sense. So I can't think of an example right now of my own, but I know that some of my bigger desires have actually changed slightly because they were maybe coming from a little bit of like fear. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, yeah, I want that thing so that I feel safe. Mm-hmm. But actually I didn't really need that thing. I wanted to feel safe, and that can come to me in many different ways. So sort of nuanced, but if something's pivoting for you, it's an opportunity to kind of lean in and see why.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that's an invitation to understand the tone and the energetic vibration. And I guess like very tangibly, the emotion that underlies our intention, what we're manifesting and why we want it. It's just an invitation for me when I hear you say that.
Absolutely. It's all an invitation.
Yeah.
Yeah. It always is just an invitation. Yeah.
I love that though. Thank you. That's great. So we mentioned shadow work a little bit ago, and I wanted to come back to that because I was thinking about shadow work in terms of like another one of those terms that I feel like is kind of a hot term right now. And I want to be sure we're clear in defining what that is. And also, can it get lumped in with trauma? Like, can shadow work get lumped in with like, our own individual trauma that we all experience in varying degrees and varying levels and throughout different times of our lives? Is there a difference between shadow and trauma? And also, what is shadow?
Mm-hmm. So for me, the way that I see shadow is that, let's just say that you have you and you're in your purest expression, early in life, let's just say, and something happens, whether it just be like a thought, a spoken word that caused you to constrict, and then something else came in to kind of protect that part of you that felt vulnerable. And so that piece that comes in, I see it as almost creating a shadow over top of the part of you and hides part of you. And so in some ways, I think that it can be or is linked to trauma because, trauma, as Gabor would say, isn't necessarily the thing that happened, like the event. It's what happened to you, where you may be disconnected from your authenticity, and something else stepped in to protect you. And so, yeah, I do think trauma and shadow can be very, very linked. I think shadow can also mean to some people like being in the subconscious, and in that way, it's not all bad. Like shadow isn't all bad or things we need to work through. It's just sometimes there's echoes of things that we're just very unaware of what is driving us because we don't know it. And creating space for those stories to kind of come up and come out of the shadows into your awareness can help you either clear them or integrate them or return to sender if they're not yours. There's beliefs that you picked up through witnessing something in the world and it's not your truth anymore. So yeah, I mean, it's a great question and I don't have a clear and concise answer because I think, again, it's very nuanced to the person. But I do think that shadow and trauma can definitely be in the same realm of the human experience. Absolutely.
I do love nuanced answers, by the way.
Okay, good, because you're getting them.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's the essence of so much of this stuff and so much of life is nuanced. I think we really do ourselves a disservice when we get stuck in this idea of there being a right and a wrong and a black and a white and a clear category, because so much of it is really just gray and nuance. And I think when we can let ourselves be in that nuance and that gray, and it's hard to do. Gosh, I struggle with that. But it allows ourselves to, I think, expand our point of view so much more. It allows so much more opportunity and different ways to do things. And for this person to be right in their way, and for that person to be right in their way, and for that person to do that thing that works for them without, you know what I mean? Without having to be like, oh, there's only one right way to do this. So that's why I love nuance so much.
100%.
I get on my soapbox about that because I've been going through a teacher training and, when you're learning how to teach yoga, you want to know the right way to do something.
Yes.
So that you can file it away in your brain and be like, okay, well, this is the only way to do that thing. And there's just so much nuance to teaching yoga that I'm like always saying nuance, nuance, nuance.
Can I add one more thing in that too?
Yes.
Is that I think that's in some way comes back to the self-trust. It's like I'm getting the knowledge. I have the knowledge. But when it turns to wisdom and it's just part of me, I'm going to know what I need to know in each moment to serve whoever's in my yoga class in the way that they need to be served. And we want, like, what are the 8 steps to take people through this trauma that they're experiencing? And it's like, how on earth could you possibly think that there's 8 steps that are going to serve every human who's had a traumatic experience in their life? And so you learn, like, yes, you need to be trained in certain things to take people to certain places, but there has to be an element of trust that I can trust myself with what I have to support this person in the way they need or support myself in the way I need. Like the knowledge is great, but we need to come back to saying like, but at the end of the day, I'm my own authority. And why would I not know better? Why would I not know what I need? Why would I not know what this person that I'm in the room with attuned with? Mm-hmm. Maybe I make up a pose that there's no word for it. Is it now no longer yoga? Of course not. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that.
Not to like there's like lineages and, like I work with Yoga Nidra. It's a lineage. I love to honor and respect it. But sometimes it's fun to also take creative measures with it and then put it out into the world. And it's your own,
Well, and yoga's evolved so much over thousands of years. It was, it's always changed. It's always evolved. It's always been nuanced.
Totally.
So I love what you said. I'm going to take that back to my teacher trainees and share that with them. I'm sure they'll be like, yes, Tessa, we understand you like nuance.
I know, right?
I love that. Well, okay, so last question.
Okay.
Um, because you've got these great multi-passions. I mean, we could pull from Akashic Records, we can pull from human design, we can pull from Gabor Mate's work of compassionate inquiry. Um, and I think, all of these have elements of what's so important to me is, what is my life purpose? How do I know if I'm on the right path? And how can I pivot to be sure that I'm like in alignment with that life purpose? So I'm wondering if there's something that you can share with everyone
Mhm.
about their life purpose.
Yeah. I do have something that I can share, and I know there's going to be people that are like, what? No. But your purpose in this lifetime is who you be. It's not what you do. What you do gets to be an expression of who you are, and you get to share yourself through your work or your job or your I don't even want to say job, because so many people do so many beautiful things that aren't paid for. I just mean like your duty in this, whatever you're doing. It's important. Your doing is important if it's important to you, but your purpose is what you bring to each and every moment and the people that you meet. And so how do you connect more deeply to your purpose is start to notice, like, when do I feel good? When do I feel alive? When do my gifts, when do I feel like in my natural flow? When do I find myself doing things that I feel like I could do all day long and I would do for free because I love it? That's you in your magic lane of just being who you are. And so when you can connect to that more deeply, the doing, the dream job, what am I supposed to do with my life, tends to come to you. Mm-hmm. So soften into the space that it's who I be and how do I want to feel? And that's your purpose.
I love
That's
that.
what you're here to share. Yeah.
Yeah. It's who I be.
Yeah.
What a great quote. I'm writing that down.
Perfect.
Thank you. So, logistical question for you is, where can people go to find out more about you and connect with you? And I imagine, like, do you work with people online from all over the world?
Yeah, I have clients in lots of different places, and most of my sessions are done on Zoom. So it's very easy to connect. My website has all my offerings and all the information on that, which is Joanna Haines, JoannaHaines.com. And I use Instagram. I like Instagram as a fun place just to interact with people too. And it's Joanna Haines is my Instagram. But those are the two places that I'm most active.
Very cool. Oh, actually I lied. I have one more question. Because
Please.
Before we started to record, we talked about your brick and mortar store that you and operate with your sister. And it is a brick and mortar, but I'm curious if it has an online platform, because it sounds like such a cool shop. It's a refillery and like home goods supply.
Yeah.
I can just imagine, just judging by your background, that is just gorgeous. And I would definitely want to check out.
Thank you. Yeah. It's so funny you say that, because when we created the shop, I was like, I just want it to be a space that people feel good in. And it was just every detail was like, I just want them to feel good when they walk in the shop. And I think we've executed that. And it's like lovely to be seen in that, because it was really a big driver for me. So that is in Fernie, and that website is Drift and Sonder. So it's DriftSonder.com. And everything is there online.
Very cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
is there any last thing you want to share that I haven't asked you that you were hoping I would ask you?
No, I love coming into these with no expectations and just sort of being present to wherever the conversation takes us, because it's always different and it's always just perfect. So no, I feel very complete and very happy to be here and chat with you. It was lovely.
Good. Well, likewise, I had a wonderful time, Joanna. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, everyone, everyone. That concludes another amazing episode of Outside the Studio. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope you learned something new, maybe remembered something old, maybe felt inspired to apply something to your life. You can hear my dog in the background. She's doing a little happy dance. So Daisy enjoyed it. Anyhow, I wanted to just pop in here to wrap us up to say a couple of things. Number one, I have such an amazing team that helps me put these podcasts together. Without them, I wouldn't, be able to bring these amazing conversations to you. So thank you to my producer, my director of creative services, my sound editor, my engineer, Consistency Media. Don't know what I would do without you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And the amazing creation and artistic musical genius, Drew Lovern. Thank you so much for putting together this music specifically for Outside the Studio. So unique to the show, only place you're ever going to hear it is right here. Thanks, you guys. You make my world go round. Stay well, everyone. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review, share on the socials, especially if it's a show that you think, hey, this could help somebody else. That's what this is all about, right? We're sharing information so that we're better, so that we're inspired, so that we're lifting each other up, and we're learning how to be in this world, living on this planet to the best of our ability, sharing information and inspiring one another. And that's my hope. That's my hope for the show. Take care.